They look just like it.
I don't have knowledge of that.
I would think that's awful. You know, if I say this table is gay, do you think this table has a relationship with that table? Or maybe that table is a female table and we don't know. You know what I mean? So this, what does gay mean? So does it make sense? If someone said, I'm going to pick on, what's your name right here? I love your hair, and I don't mean this in any negative way. I love the pink stripe, okay? But what if someone looked at that machine and said, oh, that is so Piper with a pink stripe right here. Oh my gosh. Was that, how does that make you feel?
Sad.
Sad, right. Otherwise you're saying, oh, that's so Piper with a pink stripe that's here. Depends on how it's said, right? That means, oh, that's cool, like Piper with a pink stripe right here. So it just kind of depends. So what can you folks do when you hear stuff like that? What can you do?
Yeah, but it's not the right thing to say.
Like you can say, are you saying that statue or this, oh, this is so, or I gotta take this test today, oh, man, it's so gay. What does that mean? You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. And I can understand where they're coming from. And there's a lot of people who say that who really are not, anyone know what the term homophobic means? When someone's phobic, what does it mean that they're phobic? What does phobic mean? It means they're afraid. Like if you're claustrophobic, what are you afraid of? Places, or if you're arachnophobic, I'm arachnophobic. Right, so when someone's homophobic, what does that mean? They're scared of homosexual people, right? Or if someone is transphobic, that's not really a term in the dictionary yet, but it's getting there because I hear it a lot in Northern. What's transphobic should be? Yeah, scared of transgender people, right? So you hear that a lot. So when that stuff is said in your school, and I know it's really difficult, well, just in general, when someone's being bullied or made fun of a lot, it's really hard to stand up to the bullies. I know it is. I'll tell you, the worst time of my life, those of you who are in 5th, 6th, 7th grade, those were the years where I was the meanest to other people because I was fat and I wasn't popular and I wasn't, you know, and I wasn't dealing with the gay thing at that time, but I wasn't in sports like all the other guys were. So if I could get them to make fun of somebody else other than me, then they wouldn't laugh at me as much. Because I was kind of a funny guy and I could come up with some really mean things, and I was really mean to a lot of people, and I feel really bad about that. I do. But it's one of those things where sometimes people are mean just because they don't want people to laugh at them. So or if someone's making fun of somebody, if I don't join in with that person, they're going to think I'm friends with that person, and then they'll think I'm creepy too, and then they'll make fun of me, right? How many of you have ever felt that way? Yeah, it's hard, and it's honestly it's hard. I completely understand it. So here's my term for this whole thing. I'm going to rewrite that. What is the least you can do? Someone is being made fun of your classroom. What is the least thing you can do, you think?
After the bully could ask them, like make sure that they're okay and talk to them.
That's one thing. Yep, that's a little more than, what's the least thing you can do? If everyone else is joining in and making fun of that one kid for being different, what's the least you can do? Not join in. Absolutely right. That's the very, 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 very least you can do. So that's the very top on, well actually that's the very second thing on the top. The first thing you can do to help the situation is to not use the phrase, that's so gay. Or even, that's retarded. How many of you heard that term, that's retarded? Is that a nice thing to say?
No.
Right, it's not. Because, you know, those are people who are considered that were born born differently than you were. Does that make them any less than you are? Who says that they're right and we're not? Who says that they're right and we're not all wrong? Maybe everyone's supposed to be like that and we're not right for not being that way, right? Does that make sense? So that's one of the things we try not to say. So one of the top things you can try not to do is use the phrase, that's okay, that's retarded, to call someone a dyke. You know what a dyke is? It's a negative term for a lesbian. Now sometimes, again, dyke can also be used like queer. Some lesbians like to call themselves, I'm a dyke, I'm a big old dyke. And that's great for them to say, right? Now, is it okay for you to go up and say, hey, are you a big old dyke? No, it's not. Fag, and I think worst of all, I don't know what it is about faggot that's even worse than fag, but it's, you know, it's not very nice, and they're not very nice things for people to say. And yet they hear it from their older brothers and their older sisters and their moms and dads sometimes. And so you hear it. Even I've heard kindergartners say this. They don't know what it means, but they know it's a put down, they know it's something bad, right? So that's the first least thing you can do, is not say that. The second least thing you can do is not join in, right? If you are afraid to stop them, to stop the bullyings from bullying someone, what's something else you can do? Tell them to stop. That's a good thing, but if you're too afraid to do that, what else can you do? Tell the teacher, tell somebody. What if you're too afraid to tell the teacher? What can you do face to face?
Give an anonymous note.
You can give them an anonymous note. You can write it and say, you know what? Ralph is being, you know what? I was telling Mr. Vermeulen here, I went to school with a kid named Eric Vermeulen. And he got picked on a lot because he had a lot of issues. But, so I could have gone and said, you know, let's say Eric Vermeulen's really being picked on, and I'm making him sad and really mad. And I could have put it out and stuck it on the teacher's desk. So that they know, could someone please do something about it? I'm too scared to do it myself. That's one of the other least things you can do, is write a note. Or if you feel comfortable, go up to your teacher, go up to your principal, go up to your guidance counselors, and say, you know what? I'm afraid to do anything about this because I don't want them to pick on me as well. And that's completely understandable. But for you to go on and say, tell somebody, this is what's going on. Because a lot of times, if a person is being made fun of for possibly being gay, do you think they're going to go home and say, guess what, Mom and Dad? People at school think I'm gay. Probably not. Unless their parents are really, really cool about it, and you know, it's been brought up. But a lot of people's parents, unfortunately, aren't cool about that. And so they're like, I'm not going to tell my mom and dad that people think I'm gay, because they might think I'm gay too, and then they'll get it at home, right? So a lot of people are afraid to tell people that they're getting made fun of. Yeah.
Like Leah's had a lot of these topics and all that.
They do. We've done some great
stuff.
stuff.
Like that.
Yeah, they really have. So that's another least thing you can do, is go in and talk to somebody about it. If not, write a note. The other things you can do, sometimes when you're, now not so much in the elementary or middle schools, but the high schools, as I said here, how many of you are involved with your Gay Straight Alliance? You are, great. And you're at North Central. I'm going to go there, I'm going there next week, I think. It's Thursday. So, I'm not saying you have to join your Gay Straight Alliance, because you guys are all busy with tons of other stuff, right? You've got other activities that you're going in. How can you let the Gay Straight Alliance know that you agree with what they're doing? If you do agree. And if you choose not to, that's right too. But to make fun of them and to stop them from doing what they're doing, is that fair? Right. Now, I mean, because I should say this, I shouldn't just assume that everyone thinks, oh yeah, being gay, I agree with that. A lot of people, now, most people that go to our church, most people kind of go, no, it's fine, and our church is very accepting of it. Do other churches feel that way? No. Now, do they have a right to feel that way? They do. They have a right to think it's a sin. That's their right to do it. Do they have a right to tell kids that they think it's a sin if they're gay? No. I had, there was a Gay Straight Alliance, I'll answer your question in just a second. There was a Gay Straight Alliance somewhere on the other side of town that just started, and a 15-year-old girl went to the school secretary and said, yeah, I'm trying to find the GSA meeting. And then she said, oh, what's the GSA? Oh, it's the Gay Straight Alliance. And that secretary turned to that little girl and said, you can't go to that, you're going to burn in hell. Does she have a right to say that? Does she have a right to think that? Yeah, she does. She has a right to think that, but she doesn't have the right to say that, especially in a public school. That makes the person, how would you feel that way? Would you feel good if someone said you're going to burn in hell? No. No. Whether or not you believe in hell or not. So what were you going to say? Sure.
That actually happened in school because I don't know how we got on topics. Social studies class.
Yeah.
But somebody said something about gays and our teacher. No, gays and hell. So I got all mad.
The teacher said that?
Because I got fired. Because
Did that happen last spring?
yeah,
you
and
can't
I was there that day.
You can't say stuff like that.
I was there that
I
day.
went down to my assistant principal and I was like, okay, she's saying this and that and that, and I just wrote out a whole entire statement, and then they hunted her down in the school.
And she was a substitute, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was there that day because I heard the fight outside the GSA was meeting that day.
So did I was down the hallway.
Yeah. Did you have a
Yeah, but he's one of the cool teachers.
Well, that's good. So that's another thing you can do is how about the GSA, right? If your GSA, and there are some middle schools that are looking into it. Pike High School's GSA has been around for like 10 years. So they're just at the point now where their high school kids are saying, listen, our life in middle school was really, really lousy. And we felt bad a lot of times, and a lot of times we didn't want to go to school. What can we do to go back to our middle schoolers and say, this has got to stop, you guys? Would you guys listen more to me? How many people here in middle school, raise your hand? In elementary school, we'll throw you into that mix as well. So, would you, if I came up and said, you know, you shouldn't do this, would you listen more to me, or would you listen to more of what these older guys saying, you know, you shouldn't do that? What do you think you listen to? Yeah, I agree. If you have people that are close to your age that say, you know, guys, you shouldn't treat people like that. That's not nice. That's not cool. And yeah, there's other people our age that are doing it, but they're not cool either. So that's what we're trying to do, is to have the high school kids go back and say, no, we need to make a difference here. Same thing with the college kids. I'm trying to get the college kids to go back to the high schools that don't have a Gay Straight Alliance and say, hey, this is what happened when I was in school. Because if a high school kid goes into the group of teachers and says, this is what's going on, I'm in your classroom, could it affect their grades? Yeah. But if a college kid goes back and said, you know, I was in your chemistry class, and this kid called me a fag every day, and you didn't do anything about it, what do you think that teacher might feel about that? Yeah, they didn't do their job right. So that's one of the things that we're working on. So it's really important that, again, you don't have to join the GSA, but if they have, sometimes they'll have, especially this fall, they'll have something called Alliance Week, Straight Alliance Week, where the straight allies, and that's why the GSA, the S is for straight allies. And the straight allies are really, really important, because the kids that are homophobes and transphobes are more likely to listen to the other straight kids saying, why does this bother you? It doesn't bother us, I'm straight. I don't wake up and go, yeah, gun those homosexuals, you know? I don't wake up in the morning and do that. Why is this bothering you so much? And versus having the gay kids go, stop picking on me. Which are they going to listen to more? The straight kids, right? They're going to say, oh yeah, you're right, maybe that's stupid. So if they have like a poster up on the wall saying that you're a straight ally, and if you feel comfortable doing it, it's really hard to do that, don't get me wrong, I know it. But if you can be brave enough to go up and sign that list or put your name on the big piece of poster that says, yeah, I'm cool with this, it's going to be amazing to see how many other kids see you do that and go, well, if they can do that, I can do that. Or how many, you know, if you say it in a nice way, like instead of saying, someone says, oh, that's okay, you should say that, that's really bad, I can't believe you're saying it. If you say it in a nice way, say, you know what, that doesn't really make sense, and I understand why you're saying it because it's part of our culture right now. But you know, just be really nice about it and explain it in a nice way, and then I might think about it more than if you like saying, don't do that. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Okay, what's the other thing in here?